The Chinese have announced that they're going to go to the moon. In fact, they will probably beat the United States.
With a meticulous approach and a series of groundbreaking missions led by the National Space Administration of China, or CNSA, China has consistently demonstrated its resolve to push the boundaries of lunar exploration. From their first successful landings to the recent triumph of Chang'e 6, returning precious rock samples from the moon's mysterious far side, China's lunar ambitions are no longer just aspirations, but a new global reality. This means a lot for the United States and its allies, as the communist nation now aims to conquer the space altogether. But why? Well, esteemed scientist Michio Kaku just leaked China's shocking discovery on the moon. Maybe this will offer some perspective. Before we get to his insights, let's get some insights first. The many successes of the Chinese lunar program. China's lunar program has become one of the most ambitious and successful space exploration endeavors of the 21st century. And this is no small feat, considering that just decades ago, the United States was the global leader in the space arena. The communist nation's lunar missions, led by the China National Space Administration, or CNSA, have not only expanded our understanding of the moon, but also reshaped the boundaries of what is possible in space exploration. So, what have these efforts yielded? And is the United States' position as a leading space-age nation in danger? Well, let's start with the first question. In January 2019, China's Chang'e 4 mission made history as the first spacecraft to land on the far side of the moon, a region that has remained a mystery to scientists due to its constant position away from Earth, making it impossible to communicate directly with Earth-based stations. To accomplish this feat, the Chinese created the Kuiqiao relay satellite, which allowed data to be transmitted from Chang'e 4 to Earth. The Chang'e 4 mission also deployed the Yutu-2 rover, which explored the lunar surface, sending back invaluable data and images that revealed new insights into the moon's geological composition and the unique environment of the far side. But the CNSA did not stop here. In June 2024, China marked another monumental milestone with the Chang'e 6 mission, which successfully returned to Earth with nearly 2 kilograms of lunar rock and soil samples. These samples were collected from the moon's far side, marking the first time that material from this elusive region was brought back to Earth for analysis. The scientific importance of these samples cannot be overstated, as they provide the first direct look at the composition of the far side of the moon, an area that has long been considered one of the most geologically unique regions of the lunar surface. When compared to NASA's Apollo missions, which landed on the moon's near side and provided some of the first direct samples of lunar rock and soil, the Chinese missions have explored a vastly different and more challenging environment. While the Apollo missions laid the groundwork for understanding the moon's surface, they were limited by their geographic location and the technology available at the time. The Chang'e missions have provided a more comprehensive view of the moon's unexplored regions, opening new frontiers in lunar exploration. Moreover, the technical challenges of landing and operating on the far side have made the Chinese missions an impressive achievement in terms of both engineering and scientific discovery. The Chang'e 4 mission, in particular, has also provided unprecedented insights into the moon's south pole, another area of intense interest for future lunar exploration. The South Pole is thought to hold valuable resources, such as water ice, which could be crucial for long-term lunar habitation and as a potential resource for deep space missions. The South Pole harbors water ice in permanently shadowed craters, potentially providing a critical resource for future human missions. The far side, with its high-altitude regions and relatively low temperatures, might also support future lunar colonies or research stations. So, how did China get to this point, and where does it plan to go in the future? A history of the Chang'e missions. The Chang'e project is an ambitious initiative spearheaded by the CNSA to explore the moon through a series of robotic missions and, in the near future, a crewed lunar landing. This program is named after Chang'e, the Chinese goddess of the moon. The program's engineering scope is extensive, involving a range of missions including lunar orbiters, landers, rovers, and sample return spacecraft, all launched via China's Long March series of rockets. Each mission builds on previous technological milestones to demonstrate and refine space exploration technologies. The program's successes are monitored through an advanced telemetry, tracking, and command system, supported by a network of 50-meter radio antennas in Beijing and other locations across China. The first phase of the project consisted of robotic orbital missions, with Chang'e 1 and Chang'e 2 paving the way for future lunar exploration. Launched in 2007 and 2010 respectively, these missions not only mapped the lunar surface in high definition, but also provided invaluable data on the Moon's composition, identifying areas rich in resources such as water ice and rare minerals. The second phase expanded to include soft landing and rover deployment missions, with the Chang'e 3 mission being a landmark achievement. In December 2013, Chang'e 3 successfully delivered the U2 rover to the Moon's surface, where it conducted scientific experiments and sent back data. This was followed by the Chang'e 4 mission in 2019, which made history by being the first spacecraft to land on the far side of the Moon, specifically the South Pole Aitken Basin. The U2-2 rover continues to operate on the Moon. The third phase focused on lunar sample return missions. This was a bold goal, one that had not been accomplished by any country since the 1970s. Launched in November 2020, Chang'e 5 successfully landed on the Moon, collected samples, and returned them to Earth, bringing back 1,731 grams of lunar material. The current focus of the fourth phase involves developing a lunar research station near the Moon's south pole. Chang'e 6, launched in 2024, marks the beginning of this phase, with missions focused on detailed studies of the Moon's surface and subsurface, as well as testing new technologies for in situ resource utilization. Chang'e 7, scheduled for launch in 2026, will continue exploring the South Pole for resources, while Chang'e 8, expected in 2028, will test in situ resource utilization technologies, including 3D printing and habitat construction using lunar resources. Through it all, China has also partnered with other nations in pursuing its space domination goals. For instance, the Chang'e 1 carried the D6 instrument from the European Space Agency, which measured the elemental composition of the Moon's surface. Similarly, Chang'e 2 used a laser altimeter provided by the German Aerospace Center, which allowed for precise mapping of the lunar topography. The orbiter also benefited from the European Space Agency's Deep Space Network for navigation and communication. Chang'e 3 carried with itself a lunar ultraviolet telescope developed collaboratively by the National Astronomical Observatories of China and the International Lunar Observatory Association. Moreover, for landing support, Chang'e 3 received essential data relay assistance from NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. After this, Chang'e 4 carried 4 international scientific payloads from institutions in the Netherlands, Germany, Sweden, and Saudi Arabia. The mission exemplified China's growing role in global space exploration, receiving support not only from NASA, but also from Russia and the European Space Agency. Chang'e 5 also benefited from international cooperation, including telemetry, tracking, and command support from the European Space Agency, Argentina, Namibia, Pakistan, and other countries. The mission also carried a French magnetic field detector, contributing to the international scientific community's understanding of the Moon's composition. But that's not all. China's space program has also fostered deeper ties with Russia. In 2017, China and Russia signed a cooperation agreement focused on lunar and deep space exploration, covering areas like joint spacecraft development, space electronics, and space debris monitoring. This collaboration could extend to human spaceflight, with the potential for joint lunar lander missions. It is clear that China has not only advanced its own space capabilities, but has also fostered meaningful international collaborations, demonstrating its commitment to exploring the Moon and beyond. Each mission has built on the successes of the previous ones, creating a foundation for future lunar and deep space exploration. Now, China has risen to the top. So, where does it plan to go from here? The future of China's lunar ambitions. Looking ahead, China aims to establish a long-term human presence on the Moon by the early 2030s. The China National Space Administration, or CNSA, has set a clear trajectory towards sending astronauts back to the Moon and laying the foundation for a permanent lunar base. A cornerstone of China's lunar ambitions is its stated goal of sending astronauts back to the Moon by 2030. This mission is part of a broader strategic vision for China's human space exploration program, which has already seen impressive progress with the successful launch of its Tiangong space station and multiple crewed missions to low Earth orbit. By returning to the Moon, China aims not only to build on its existing lunar exploration success, but also to demonstrate its growing capabilities in human spaceflight. But wait, didn't the United States already do this? Well, yes, the Apollo program, which culminated in the successful landing of astronauts on the Moon between 1969 and 1972, marked a peak of lunar exploration. However, after Apollo 17, the momentum for further lunar missions slowed down significantly. The program was an enormous financial commitment, with the total cost exceeding $25 billion in the 1960s and 70s. Moreover, following the success of the moon landings, public interest began to wane, and the focus of NASA shifted towards other priorities, such as the Space Shuttle program and space station development. The political will to continue lunar exploration also diminished as new priorities emerged. In recent years, space exploration efforts have primarily focused on the International Space Station, Mars missions, and deep space probes. The International Space Station, a joint project involving multiple countries, has provided a long-term platform for scientific research in microgravity, which has been a key focus for the last few decades. Robotic missions, such as the Mars rovers and deep space observatories, have been prioritized to gain knowledge of other planets and celestial bodies, paving the way for future human exploration. However, the momentum for lunar exploration has recently been revitalized. China now wishes not just to send a manned flight to the Moon, but also to outdo the United States. For instance, while the United States traditionally worked within a select group of allies, China's human moon landing mission, particularly as part of its broader lunar program, is expected to involve greater international partnerships. These collaborations could bring in advanced technologies from Russia, Europe, and emerging space nations, as seen with China's successful use of foreign payloads in its previous lunar missions. Technologically, China has been keen on developing cutting-edge space technologies that will allow for a more sustainable lunar presence. China aims to surpass the United States by landing and establishing a permanent research station on the Moon. With the goal of building a scientific research base near the lunar South Pole, China is actively working on long-term infrastructure. This contrasts with the approach of the United States, which currently focuses on returning astronauts to the Moon for short missions as part of NASA's Artemis program. China's interest in situ resource utilization, including technologies for building with local lunar materials and extracting water ice from the Moon's polar regions, could allow for the establishment of a long-term lunar outpost. Furthermore, China's focus on building up its space station and developing reusable rockets, such as the Long March 5B, could enable more cost-effective and frequent lunar missions. This reusable technology, along with advancements in spacecraft design and autonomous technologies, will contribute to reducing the cost and complexity of missions, making China's lunar ambitions more sustainable in the long run. China's approach also has a more integrated strategy, with its plans for a crewed lunar landing being part of a broader space exploration framework. China's lunar exploration program has a strong track record of robotic missions. This buildup of technical expertise, coupled with the development of crewed spacecraft like Mengzhou and the Lanyu lunar lander, shows a comprehensive gradual expansion of capabilities, leading to the ultimate goal of human landings. In terms of timing, China's ambitious plans are progressing rapidly. The country is aiming to land humans on the Moon as early as 2030. While China's lunar goals are ambitious, they also come amid heightened international competition in lunar exploration. The resurgence of lunar missions by various countries, including the United States, Russia, India, and private entities has created a new space race. In particular, NASA's Artemis program, which aims to return astronauts to the moon by 2025, places it in direct competition with China's timeline for its crewed mission. The Artemis program is focused on returning astronauts to the moon's south pole and establishing a sustainable presence, much like China's lunar ambitions. The United States and its international partners are also aiming for long-term exploration, with plans for lunar research bases and mining of lunar resources, areas where China has made significant advancements. Russia has also expressed intentions to expand its lunar exploration activities, potentially collaborating with China on future projects. India, with its successful Chandrayaan missions, is also making strides in its lunar ambitions, although it is focused more on scientific exploration. The involvement of private space companies, including SpaceX, Blue Origin, and others, adds another layer of competition. While competition intensifies, China has signaled a desire for international collaboration, particularly in the areas of scientific research and lunar exploration. China is more than willing to cooperate with other nations in pursuit of mutual scientific and technological goals. As such, there is a possibility that China's lunar base could eventually become part of a broader international effort, where spacefaring nations pool resources and expertise to achieve common objectives in space. However, geopolitical factors, including the strategic and economic rivalry between China and the United States, may complicate such efforts. This brings us to the most troubling aspect of the current situation: Michio Kaku's insights on lunar rivalries. Renowned theoretical physicist and futurist, Michio Kaku has offered significant insights into the evolving landscape of lunar exploration and the growing space rivalries, particularly between China and the United States. During an interview for Bloomberg in early 2021, he expressed concern about the future of lunar exploration, particularly in the context of increasing competition between the United States and China. He pointed out that while the United States had previously led the charge in space exploration, China is now rapidly closing the technological gap. Kaku emphasized that China's space advancements are setting the stage for a new space race. The United States, once the undisputed leader in space exploration, he claimed, is now facing a formidable challenge from China. Kaku went further and claimed that the geopolitical landscape of the moon could evolve into something akin to property wars, with countries vying for control of key territories rich in resources. As noted earlier, the samples collected by China from the lunar surface have shown us that the soil on the moon holds valuable resources that could become key points of geopolitical competition, including helium-3, a potential fuel for nuclear fusion, water ice in permanently shadowed craters for life support and rocket fuel, rare earth elements and metals for high-tech manufacturing, and lunar regolith that could be used for construction. Additionally, the moon's ideal location for solar power generation could make it a hub for energy production. Kaku also spoke at the World Economic Forum in 2020, where he elaborated on the implications of a future where nations may claim territorial rights over parts of the moon, particularly the South Pole region. He raised concerns about the absence of clear legal frameworks that would regulate such claims. He suggested that as humanity moves closer to the idea of mining the moon and establishing permanent colonies, the competition between countries could lead to conflicts over ownership and exploitation of lunar resources. This could escalate into a lunar property war, with nations staking claims to lunar territories and attempting to assert control over lucrative regions of the moon. There is growing anxiety in the scientific community about the need for a more comprehensive regulatory framework to prevent such conflicts and ensure that lunar exploration remains peaceful. Kaku has also referenced the 1967 Outer Space Treaty, which prohibits any nation from claiming sovereignty over celestial bodies. He has pointed out the inherent contradiction in the Outer Space Treaty's provisions when applied to the contemporary space race. While the treaty was drafted to foster peaceful cooperation and prevent the militarization of space, its limitations on territorial claims are now being tested as countries and private companies begin to eye the moon and its resources. Moreover, the Outer Space Treaty does not adequately address the growing presence of private companies in space exploration. Companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin, with their ambitious plans to build lunar bases and even mine the moon, could circumvent the treaty's restrictions. This loophole, Kaku argued, could lead to complex legal battles over ownership and exploitation rights, especially as private companies collaborate with or are contracted by national space agencies like NASA or CNSA. Moreover, Kaku discussed how the rapid advancements in space exploration technologies, including reusable rockets and robotic mining, could lead to a gold rush on the moon. The commercial potential of the moon's resources could intensify the competition for lunar territory, especially among countries like the United States, China, and Russia, all of which are pursuing independent lunar missions. Kaku has suggested that without a new international framework for space governance, the moon could become a battleground for competing national and corporate interests. In a notable 2021 interview with NPR, Kaku emphasized that the international community must come together to create laws that define property rights in space, set standards for resource extraction, and ensure that space exploration remains peaceful and cooperative. He suggested that the establishment of a lunar charter, similar to maritime laws that govern the use of international waters, could help prevent conflicts and promote shared access to the moon's resources. This legal framework, he argued, should address issues like the rights to mine lunar materials, establish colonies, and navigate the growing complexity of space exploration as it moves into a new era. He's not wrong, though. As China accelerates its lunar program and the United States continues its efforts with the Artemis missions, the future of lunar exploration will likely see intense competition. Without a clear regulatory structure in place, we may be on the brink of a new type of property war in space. This is where the future of our world will be decided. Geopolitical implications of lunar exploration. The race to the moon has resulted in growing tensions between the United States and China, particularly as both nations pursue ambitious lunar programs. As CNSA makes strides in its lunar ambitions, the implications for international space cooperation and security are vast, raising significant challenges for the bilateral relations between the two nations and the future of space exploration. A core factor driving the geopolitical tension is the fact that the Chinese space program is tightly integrated with the Chinese military. While NASA's programs have been largely civilian, with strict separation from military activities, China's space exploration efforts are closely linked to its military-industrial complex. The CNSA, which oversees all of China's space missions, has deep ties to the People's Liberation Army. This has raised concerns within the United States government and the broader international community about the potential for dual-use technologies being shared. The implications of these connections were made particularly clear in 2011 when the United States passed the Wolf Amendment, which prohibits NASA from engaging in bilateral agreements and collaborations with China or Chinese-owned companies. Since then, the United States government has maintained a strict policy of limiting collaboration with China in the realm of space, citing national security risks and concerns over espionage. Despite these tensions, there is growing recognition of the potential benefits of international cooperation in space exploration. However, the military affiliations of CNSA and China's rising geopolitical power complicate any possibility of collaboration. While NASA and the European Space Agency have established partnerships in space research and lunar exploration, a direct partnership with China remains elusive. This lack of collaboration between NASA and China not only hinders scientific progress, but also exacerbates geopolitical divisions. One of the most pressing concerns in this evolving geopolitical landscape is the potential for shared knowledge to be weaponized. Space exploration technologies have dual-use potential, meaning that innovations developed for peaceful scientific purposes can often be adapted for military applications. In the case of the Moon, both the United States and China are not only interested in scientific discovery, but also in the Moon's strategic resources, particularly water ice deposits, which are essential for sustaining long-term human presence in space. The Moon's south pole, a prime location for future lunar bases, could serve as a critical site for mining and resource extraction, which would have both commercial and military applications, such as fueling missions to Mars or providing raw materials for space-based weapons. Both the United States and China have recognized the military potential of space-based resources. After all, dual-use technologies can be weaponized. Another significant concern in this context is the risk of space technologies being misused or falling into the wrong hands. The United States has already expressed concerns over China's military-civilian fusion strategy, in which civilian advancements are closely integrated with military objectives. The fear is that technologies shared with China through joint ventures or space collaborations could be repurposed for military use, either by China itself or through third-party channels. The United States and its allies have been particularly wary of Chinese advances in satellite technology, which has both civilian and military applications. In 2020, when NASA's plans for collaboration with private companies such as SpaceX for lunar exploration were advancing, United States lawmakers took note of the potential vulnerabilities of sharing technology with China's space program. The issue of technology transfer and intellectual property theft between the two nations is nothing new. For example, China reverse-engineered the F-35 fighter jet, resulting in the J-31 stealth aircraft. There have also been several reports of cyber attacks on NASA and private aerospace companies. These technological gains have bolstered China's military capabilities, particularly in missile systems, surveillance, and cyber warfare, allowing it to challenge US dominance. In a future Taiwan Strait conflict, these advancements could tip the balance, as China leverages its modernized military to assert claims over Taiwan, testing US commitments to the island's defense and potentially escalating tensions in the Indo-Pacific region. So, it would not be unreasonable to assume that the future of our planet will be decided on the Moon. How will lunar resource mining change our world? The Moon is the frontier of the future. The Moon's untapped resources are being identified as a key asset for the future of energy production, space exploration, and technological advancements. Among the most highly sought-after materials on the Moon are rare elements, particularly those with applications in high-tech industries and renewable energy technologies. Elements like neodymium and yttrium are particularly valuable due to their role in the production of permanent magnets, which are essential in a wide range of technologies, from electric motors to renewable energy systems like wind turbines. Neodymium, for instance, is critical in the creation of strong, lightweight magnets that power electric vehicles and modern electronics. The Moon is rich in such rare Earth elements, which are becoming increasingly scarce on Earth due to environmental concerns surrounding mining practices and geopolitical tensions over supply chains. Lunar mining could, therefore, provide a stable and abundant source of these elements, which could alleviate supply constraints back on Earth. But that's not all. The Moon is rich in titanium, aluminum, and silicon, all of which are crucial for manufacturing in space and on Earth. Titanium, with its high strength-to-weight ratio, is particularly important for the construction of spacecraft components, and other space infrastructure. The Moon's abundance of this metal could drastically reduce the cost of space missions by allowing the extraction and processing of raw materials directly on the lunar surface, rather than transporting them from Earth. Aluminum is another key metal found in large quantities on the Moon. Its lightness and corrosion resistance make it ideal for building spacecraft, solar panels, and a range of other space-based infrastructure. Silicon, used predominantly in the production of solar cells, is another material that could be critical for supporting human habitation on the Moon, as well as facilitating future solar power generation in space. Perhaps one of the most exciting and controversial potential resources on the Moon is helium-3, a rare isotope of helium that could hold the key to future nuclear fusion energy. Unlike the conventional nuclear fusion fuels of deuterium and tritium, helium-3 is considered a clean fuel, producing no radioactive waste when used in fusion reactions. On Earth, helium-3 is extremely rare, but the Moon is thought to have vast reserves of it, deposited by the solar wind over billions of years. The potential of helium-3 as a clean energy source could revolutionize energy production on Earth, providing a nearly limitless and environmentally friendly fuel for nuclear fusion reactors. At present, nuclear fusion is far from a reality. Although research in the field has accelerated in recent years, with projects like the ITER or the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor in France and the National Ignition Facility in the United States making progress, no fusion reactor has yet achieved the required conditions to sustain a fusion reaction that produces more energy than it consumes. As of now, fusion power remains a theoretical solution to the world's energy needs. However, if breakthroughs occur, helium-3 could become a key resource for the next phase of energy production, making the Moon a strategic asset in the quest for sustainable and virtually unlimited energy. Given the Moon's abundance of helium-3, extracting it could give any nation or private company that controls lunar mining a huge advantage in the global energy market. Despite the tremendous potential of lunar mining, the commercial exploitation of the Moon raises important questions about governance, ownership, and resource sharing. The 1967 Outer Space Treaty, signed by over 100 countries, prohibits the claiming of sovereignty over celestial bodies, including the Moon. This means that no nation can lay claim to any part of the Moon as its own territory. However, the treaty does not provide a clear framework for how resources extracted from the Moon should be distributed or regulated. Without such a framework, there is the potential for conflicts over access to valuable lunar resources, particularly as different countries and commercial entities vie for control of prime mining locations, such as the Moon's South Pole, where water ice is abundant. China is aiming big. The United States knows what is at stake, its global order. The world is witnessing a big change. How will this end? Only time will tell. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Did you like this video? If you did, please consider liking, dropping a comment, and hitting the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on our new uploads. Also, don't miss this video you see on your screen right now. It's truly unbelievable.